It can feel really scary to make big life decisions with no guarantee of knowing, other than your instinct, whether it's right or not. But this is what life's about, isn't it? Taking a risk, following your gut, and just seeing what happens. Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back, lovely people, and thank you for tuning in to another video. So today's video is a personal update. I just want to share with you some of my recent big news. Now, lots of you will have already seen this already. If you follow my channel, you'll have seen our recent live stream where me and my partner Chris shared our big news that we're currently relocating from Eastbourne back to Devon. And in today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit more about it because it's not just about moving, it's also very much tied into the grieving process of losing mum a couple of years ago. And we did talk briefly in our live stream, but we're all very excited. So today I just wanted to take some time to more calmly explain things and just do what I normally do whenever I'm going through a growth thing, is share it with you lovely people. But before we crack on with that, if you are new to my content, then a very, very big welcome. My name is Finn, and here on this channel and on my accompanying website, I share my life in recovery as a gay transgender man. And this means I share content on gender transition, mental health topics, LGBT life, and loads more besides. So if you are enjoying my content, I would love it if you would subscribe. Just hit the little button here, and then you won't miss out on all of the regular Finstalments. So yes, our recent news came as a bit of a shock, unless of course you're a FinFam Flock Club member, and then you'll know this stuff because you will get an inside view on what's going on. So yes, we decided at the beginning of the pandemic that we wanted to move. This flat hasn't been perfect, there's been some problems with it, it's quite expensive as well, so we were looking at moving somewhere else, and then we both started to think, well actually, do we even still want to be in Eastbourne? And then we thought, well, actually, we were both really happy in Devon. Why don't we go back there? And that's how it all began. Both Chris and I love Devon and have lived there many times for many years. I've lived in many places over in Devon. Those who follow my content will remember that I moved to Devon quite a few years ago after splitting up with my last partner. It's a tiny little town called Dawlish, and I was really, really happy. But then unfortunately my mum got ill, and she developed vascular dementia, which had probably already started, but she ended up really poorly and it progressed it really quick, like almost overnight. She just became a different person, and it was really clear she was going to need help. And I decided that I wanted to be the person to do that, to help her. So I made the difficult decision to give up my home in Devon and relocate to Eastbourne so I could be there for mum. I didn't expect her to go as quickly as she did. I mean, she only lasted a year with the dementia, and 2 years ago she passed away. No regrets at all, you know, I did the right thing moving here to look after her. It's been difficult, really difficult, but to know that I was here and shared that last time with her has helped in the grieving process a lot. But I still miss her. Lots of you will also remember that I had lots of fear around moving back to Eastbourne. When it was apparent that mum would need my support, I was looking at various places outside of Eastbourne. And the reason for that is that I grew up here. And I have a very, very, very colourful past. Lots of drug and alcohol abuse, issues with the police. I was a very, very unwell young person. And I was worried about returning here and what that would do for me, whether it would be a problem for my recovery and all of these things. But a wise friend of mine said to me that Finn had never lived here. The old me was a very different person than this person, and not just in looks. The whole way I respond to life now and the way I am is very different to back then. And also that I've learned in my recovery that returning to places that were problematic in the past, if safe of course, can be really healing. So that's what helped me to move here. And this has been such an incredible move. As hard as it was looking after mum, there was also all of this other growth, letting go, self-development stuff that's gone on just because I'm back in my hometown and I'm saying goodbye to lots of old negative memories and letting go. and rebuilding a relationship with mum, because we've been rebuilding a relationship for the last 10 years since I got clean and sober. But to care for her in her last days and for her to be as vulnerable and just beautiful as she was, just so much healing went on. I also connected with my best friend from childhood, who's just completely accepted me as a man. I don't think we've even had the conversation about me transitioning. It's just like, this is who I've always been. And that's been amazing. So it's like the last remaining bits of baggage from my past have gone by coming back to Eastbourne. And I'm lighter for it. And of course, another really surprising thing that happened here in Eastbourne was meeting my lovely Chris. So moving back here has been really positive, even if there's been so much sadness around losing mum. It has been really, really positive. Life is never black and white. Whenever there's something bad happening, there's always good stuff happening too, and vice versa. So mine and Chris's relationship has been quite intense. We've been through a lot together in our 3 years together, and we both say it feels like so much longer because of all we've been through. We'd only been together a little while when mum died, you know, so Chris has been with me through all that huge grieving process. It was so tough. Losing a parent is so difficult. Losing a parent to dementia is just horrendous. It really is. But of course, mum was my last remaining parent. And so I've had to come to terms with the fact that I'm an adult orphan. And that does feel really peculiar and really unsettling. And I've needed a lot of help to deal with that. I've had a lot of counselling over these last couple of years just to kind of process all of that loss that's involved with being an adult orphan. The pandemic arriving in 2020 really didn't help matters very much, really. I was still just kind of finding my feet after losing mum, and then that happened. And Chris and I were just sat chatting, and we both said, you know, that we'd really like to move. This flat isn't quite what we'd hoped, and we'd really like to choose somewhere together. And we were talking about we'd like a mortgage and like to buy our own home, but that this would not be possible in East Sussex at all because it's so expensive to live here. And we both started to say, well, we could look elsewhere, we could look at somewhere else to live. And then we both went, well, why don't we just relocate back to Devon? Because, as I said before, Chris has lived there many years in many different places. I've lived in Devon for many years in many different places. We both kind of moved from there for similar reasons. His dad was poorly and sadly died. I moved because of mum. And with the coronavirus happening, I think it made us reevaluate what we really want and what really matters. Being forced to be at home together when Chris was put into shielding really showed us what a strong team we are. We've gone through so much, you know, my final lowest surgery stage, then losing mum. And I think this was the first time we could take stock and look at what we really wanted. Because for one reason or another, neither of us have really made a proper home in Eastbourne, you know, because I moved here and was really busy looking after mum, so I never really properly kind of settled in Eastbourne. Then mum died and I was going through the grief, and then the pandemic, you know, so we've both made a home together, but not necessarily in Eastbourne, and we both realised that actually we think we want to be elsewhere. This is why we've decided on Devon, but this time a bigger city. Plymouth is much bigger than Dawlish, and it means that we've got a big vibrant city but loads of really open countryside around, which is ideal. And it also means that we'll be more likely to be able to afford our own home there because it's so much cheaper, and it will just give us both a quieter pace of life. You've all heard us talk about Chris not being particularly well. We need to get him well, so we're thinking it's a less stressful job for him. He's got a new job, should hopefully be less stressful. I'm working from home anyway and it's fine, and in some ways it will help having a lower rent because then I don't feel as pressured to try and earn because Chris is still the main earner at the moment as I'm building my business. So there's just lots of reasons that it's all slotted into place and it feels so completely right, and we're both very, very excited for this next stage of whatever it will bring. And of course I look forward to sharing this exciting new adventure with you. This time in packing, because I'm not kind of rushing to do it because I was rushing last time to come look after mum, I've taken lots of time to really go through my belongings, and I've had loads of really powerful realisations about the stuff I've been hanging on to. And I think I'm going to save that for its own video because I've got lots to say. and I will. But right now I just wanted to share the news of our move and a little bit more of our reasons for doing so. I think this is our time now, just to, you know, all the worst stuff hopefully has happened. We're engaged, we can move to Plymouth, we can start building our own life. This will be the first flat we've chosen together and moved into together. Although neither of us have actually been in the flat that we're moving into. Yes, the joys of having to do it by distance. There's like 500 miles between Eastbourne and Plymouth, I think. Something like that. 4-hour journey away, 5-hour journey away. Anyway, so yeah, we've had to do it all remotely. So by the agent very kindly showing us around the flat using WhatsApp, which was hilarious. So neither of us have seen this flat other than on WhatsApp and Google Maps and the internet. But we get a good feeling about it. So we've got a 6-month tenancy just in case we're wrong, because it gets us down there, doesn't it? And then we can go from there. But yes, it just feels like fresh start, choosing a place together, different way of life, bring it on. I'm planning this weekend, on our very last weekend in Eastbourne, to go down to Seven Sisters where we scattered Mum's ashes and say my goodbyes. And it does feel like this has been a process over the last couple of years of saying goodbye, but this feels like it's the icing on the cake. Of course, there's still pain, there's still grief, I still miss her. But this just feels right to just say, okay, I came here to do what I did, I've done it, now it's time for me to say goodbye and move on, because that's what Mum would have wanted. So yes, that's my little emotionally waffly update for you all. If you have any comments or questions, of course, pop them below as per usual. And yes, of course, I'll be sharing as much of this as possible. So follow me on social media for moving adventures and for all of our new adventures in Plymouth. Thanks for watching, folks. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week for your next video.